let's talk now about some really important foundational things. Getting the right foundation and using the right campaign types is going to be really important, both to make sure that your campaigns perform as well as possible and that you use your ad dollars wisely, and also to save you time in your setup, both time and frustration. So let's dive in, and I'm going to talk about all the different campaign types that Google offers and who they're best fitted for, and you should be able to figure out pretty easily what campaign types you want to use for your specific situation based on what we're going to talk about now. So these right here are the main types of campaigns that Google offers. You have Search Network with Display Select, Search Network Only, Display Network Only, Shopping, Video, and Universal App. There are also a couple kind of sub-campaign types that I will cover as well, but these 6 here are the main campaign types. So first off, we have Search Network with Display Select, and this is a combination of 2 types of campaigns. You have Search Network, which is where people go to google.com and type in keywords and then see an ad in response to those keywords, and Display, which means Google's Display Network, which is a huge conglomeration of websites across the internet. It makes up really a huge percentage of the internet, and you can show image and text ads on those websites. Now, I do not recommend this type of campaign. Just don't use this type of campaign if you ask me. That's because people on the search network and people on the display network have very different intents and are in different stages in the buying cycle, and you should manage your ads based upon their intent and what they're looking for. So you should use separate campaign types for the search network and for the display network. Now, search network only is the bread and butter of many AdWords campaigns. This is what you think of most traditionally as advertising with Google. It's where someone goes to google.com and types in a query and sees text ads like this, and they click to your website and hopefully pay you lots of money. So people are searching for a product or service, or at least some keyword that you've identified as being relevant to you. So often search network only campaigns have higher conversion rates than most other types of campaigns because people are in a searching or a buying intent right now. And like I said, this is often the bread and butter of accounts. So for most advertisers, you want to start with search network only campaigns. Now, search call only campaigns are one of those sub-campaign types that I mentioned. And this, like it says, it's a call only campaign. So these ads only show on mobile devices that are capable of making calls. And you can see a blow up of an example ad here. So the headline, instead of being something like over here, you have a text headline with a call-only ad. You have your phone number, actually. And when someone taps that on their phone, it does not take them to your website. It initiates a phone call to your phone number. So there are some really neat, really great things about this type of campaign. It's only relevant to you if you want calls, first of all, and callers do not need to visit your website first. So they don't need to see additional information on your website before calling you. So for example, this is great for service industries, say a plumber, a landscaper, a foundation repair company, where someone just needs to connect with you on the phone and schedule an appointment or ask for a free quote. This is a great tool. You're almost only paying per call. The payment structure for these ads is the same as for regular ads. It's cost per click, except when someone clicks or taps on your ad for a call-only ad, it's actually a phone call. Now, the reason it's almost paying per call and not actually paying per call is that people could accidentally tap that button and then decide that obviously they didn't intend to call you, so that's not a real call. Or they could tap the button and not realize that they're going to initiate a call instead of visiting your website and then back out at that point. So you're not going to have a 100% call rate from this, but typically you'll have a very good cost per conversion compared to most other campaign types. Now let's talk about display network only. This is where you are only targeting Google's display network, which we already talked about, and this is an example image ad here. This is what you think of primarily with image ads. You can also have text ads on the display network. And this is a way to hit people who are not specifically searching for something. So, for example, if you are a startup, if you sell something that not many people are actively looking for, but lots of people need, then the display network could be a good tool. Now, there are good things and bad things about the display network, and there's a lot of different opinions out there about this channel. You're targeting relevant people because you can really use some pretty granular targeting options to target people based upon their demographics, their age, their gender, their parental status, based upon the types of websites they've been visiting recently, or whether Google thinks that they're in the market for a specific type of product, like a car or baby products or lots of different things. But you can get lots of traffic and exposure from here, but typically you're going to have very low conversion rates compared to a search network campaign. And that makes sense because you're hitting people as they're browsing and reading other content, and they're not actively searching for your product or service at the time. So it's a great way to get lots of exposure, lots of traffic, but conversion rates often leave a lot to be desired. Remarketing is a subtype of display, and remarketing is the only display campaign that I typically recommend for a lot of small businesses to use. This is where you show ads to people who have already been to your website, and you show those ads to them while they're browsing other websites on the Google Display Network. Remarketing is a great way to remind people about you and bring them back to your website to complete a purchase or to fill out a form or even to upsell them for another product if they've purchased a particular product. It needs to be done well. You've probably seen instances where ads follow you all around the internet constantly, annoyingly. You don't want to do that, and there's ways to prevent that using impression caps and frequency caps, and I'll talk about that later. But remarketing can be very effective. Often also it has a low cost per conversion because you're reaching people who are already familiar with you. One thing to keep in mind is that it can be hard to track the full benefits of remarketing, and that's because a lot of people will see the ads and it will jog their memory, but they won't click on the ad right then. They'll come back to you later on, and it can be very difficult to track the performance of that ad to the final conversion because they didn't click on the ad. Now, Google Shopping is a very important channel, but only if you are selling physical products online. In order to use Google Shopping, you need to have a fully online shopping process. So someone can come to your website and they can place an order and enter their payment information, etc. They do not need to make a phone call to you or come into your on-site location. So if that fits you, then Google Shopping is a really good option. Like I said, it's only for e-commerce websites. You can target shoppers very well because people who see these ads, it's obvious that it is an ad for a product. It shows the name of the product, it shows the name of the company, it shows the price, and if they look at it on Google Shopping itself, on that interface, they'll see more information like descriptions and ratings and lots of other stuff. So people who click on these ads are often much more qualified to actually become a buyer, and you'll send them directly to the specific product page of the ad on which they clicked. And often you'll get your best conversion rates from a Google Shopping campaign, even better than a search network campaign, because the intent of the people clicking on these ads is much more focused towards purchasing than the other campaign types. Now, video, YouTube is its own beast. You can think of YouTube as targeted TV. It is a great way to target lots of people, to hit lots of people, to expose them to your message very cheaply. You can get views for a couple cents, 5 to 10 cents easily per view, compared to search network where you could be paying dollars or many dollars depending upon what market you're in. Now, downside to YouTube is that you usually have very, very low conversion rates. That's, again, is to be expected because people are watching other videos when they see your ad, and they're not necessarily going to click on your ad right now and go buy something. But it's a great way to get lots of exposure. And also, again, if you're a startup or if you're selling a product or service that people aren't often actively searching for, YouTube is a great way to cost-effectively get your message in front of them. Like I said, it's hard to track the full success of YouTube because a lot of people don't click on the ad, but maybe they will come back and convert later on because you got your message into their brain. But it can be hard to really know what your full ROI is from YouTube. Then the last campaign type that we'll touch on is universal app, and this only applies to you if you have an app that you want people to download, and it's an incredibly simple type of campaign. It only works for Android because Google obviously owns the Google Play Store and created the Android operating system. And all you need to do is pick what your app is, what you want your target cost per install to be, write a couple ad headlines for Google to use, and then let Google go out and do the rest of the work. So that's a brief overview of all the types of campaigns that Google offers, at least all the main types of campaigns, and hopefully some of those sound very relevant to you, and you have a good sense moving forward for which campaign type you want to start your campaign with.